pull requests. The default will be true. So I think that as a default behavior is pretty good. I'm going to put that before any of the comment configurations here, and I may rename some of these as well. Fail on error can stay what it is. That will always, it basically says fail the entire action. But filter table and collapse table, these are comment related. So I'm going to add comment into them. And then I will also do comment only error. We'll say on error. Description. And so this is what's going to trigger only add comments to pull requests. There are budget errors or warnings. And the default there again will be actually false because the I wonder if we could actually make this a string, an option. Let me take a look at GitHub Actions inputs. That's what I want to look at. And I want to see if there are like, if I can give choices or like an enum of possible values that can be given. I'm kind of doubting, but we will try anyway. Inputs. No, it does not have what I want. This one might have it. Inputs. Is that it really? Just those? Where's the darn? Well, here, I think it's in the JavaScript action. Figure this, and this says inputs. So tell us more about inputs. It seems to be just kind of like true, false, or string. Input. I wonder if the GitHub Actions core. This is the toolkit. Where can I read about this? Maybe it's in here. Input just kind of doesn't say. I wonder if they're always string or YAML based. So in YAML, if you write true or false, it will be Boolean. Otherwise, I think it just reads it as a string. So trying to decide here what to do. Comment. Because these are a little bit like duplicative of each other in that in order to have this one be true, this one also must be true. And I don't know how to spell default. So I kind of would rather have these be options. So I think what I'm going to do is say true, false, errors, or warnings. Default will be true. So in that case, it would be, so true is the normal case here. True, it'll always add a comment. False, it will never add a comment. errors, it will only add a comment if there are errors. And warnings, it will add comments if there are warnings or errors, is what I think I would go for here. So that seems okay. And then let's see, because we haven't used this yet, I'm going to need to stick it in here somewhere. And so right here, we have this group called updating comment, and that's where that happens. So I think first off, before we even do that, I would want to say get input should comment or comment config maybe. And then let's see, if comment config false, return. I'm just kind of stubbing this in real quick just to see, and we'll probably refactor as we go. So if it's false, we know that we can just skip and jump out of this. Although I think what I want to do is maybe pull this whole group. Yeah, I'm going to need to pull this group out into something else. So let's see, we'll go from start group, because there is other code below it. End group, there we go. And then let's see, maybe comment. We'll write a function that's going to have to be an async function, so we'll wait for it. And we're going to have async function maybe comment. It's going to have all that code back in it, and we're going to have to figure out what variables are missing out of here. So we're going to need the API response. So let's make sure we push that in. And there's a comparator context. We're going to need the context. Where does that come from? Right up here. So we will need that as well. And then collapse table, rows, collapse table, config. I'm going to need the config. Just pulled up before. I'm going to do that one first. And then OctoKit, you are also a thing. Oh boy, we're passing everything in here. I'm actually going to move the context up because these are things that are definitely required. OctoKit. Okay. I think that's everything there. So now we can actually say if it's not false. Let's set a default on here. Is it? I think it's set from the YAML. I want to get input. Yep. Let's double check that. I almost command tabbed out of here. That would have been hurtful. Let's see, get input required. Looks like that's probably it. I wish they had real documentation on here, but apparently they do not. All right, so we've got that pulled out. We need to add the arguments here. So config OctoKit context response. Add. I'm going to add this value in as well. Config. Oh, hey, Milo. Do you want to say hi? Do you want to say hi on the camera? There's Milo. What's up, buddy? He just wants to be a terror and eat the pen, as usual. We're not going to let him. Okay. Back into here. So comment config, then we want to pull that and check from our other values. Pull these apart here. We're going to be on the right-hand side. So our other values are going to be, we're going to want to check for errors and warnings. So in that case, the easiest way to do this is going to be potentially looking at the summary, but I want to look back at the comparator from Build Tracker because we're building one of those. It's got a bunch of information on it. We can go here. It's got a bunch of different information and methods on it that we might be able to use to pull that up off a little more succinctly. So here's the comparator. We have, looks like not, at least not officially documented, but as the person that wrote it, I'm pretty sure there's more there. So comparator, oh, we need to enable script. There we go. Okay, so comparator has a lot in it. We can serialize, we can deserialize, we can names. So I think the errors are actually on the build delta objects, which we can pull off. At some point I make this a little bit easier to get to. It's like just expose on the comparator, like does it have warnings, does it have errors? But not today. So we have to check each artifact delta. So that's the thing, because it has to go a couple levels deep into all of this. So we could do it a little bit differently, and we can in the action we can look similar to what's happening here. Let's see. Well, you know, we're gonna have to look at groups and rows. Maybe we should update this and make it better, because it is pretty difficult and it seems like a thing that other people will probably want to do at some point. The way that it essentially works is we end up with getting all the results, putting them all together, and then in this case, what is this actually doing? So we actually take the groups, we look for failing budgets in each one of those cells, and we pull them out. Then we do the same thing over here for the artifacts, and we pull anything out that's unexpected or a failing budget. And then we have an array of those errors and warnings. So, you know, we could actually look at this the summary and look for no failing budgets. That is not going to change anytime soon. So that would be an easy way to just determine, although that doesn't tell us whether there are errors or warnings, we would have to parse those separately. So I think we still probably want to pull this all out manually and you know, actually get a really succinct, easy way to determine if there are errors or warnings. So, yep, we're going to do that. And this is going to mean that I'm probably not going to finish the build tracker action tonight, but it's a good reminder that when I think I should have done something a long time ago, I probably should have done it. Because it's one of those things I've been thinking about for a while. So here's my test on the right-hand side and my actual code on the left-hand side. So I'm actually going to do this a little test-driven development style and start writing the test first. So I'm going to drop down to the bottom here and add a new block for describe. And we'll make these getters, I think. So we'll have has errors, and we'll have another one, describe has warnings. And we'll add another one for describe has unexpected hash changes. Has unexpected hash changes. Okay, So those are the 3 getters that I want to write. Or, we could just say, give me the errors and give me the warnings. So I can write getters for errors, warnings, and unexpected hash changes. That way I could actually use that in building this summary instead of trying to loop through all of this. I may even be able to repurpose the code that we've got in here to be able to do that. So I'm going to sub in a few tests. So when there are group errors, returns them. Excuse me. Test when there are artifact errors, returns them. And I'm actually going to have the exact same thing for warnings, but these are going to be, oops, I have a typo. Errors, warnings. Then returns unexpected hash changes. Those are the simplest test cases I think I can write here. So we can actually continue to build those out. I don't need to write any code, any actual code yet. I can still just write my tests because we've got some examples here as well of what that looks like. So I can copy paste some of this. Let's see if I can find a simple one or a few in here. Actually, let's say returns empty array. No. So I do want that case as well. But I'll actually do my first case. And let's see. So that's my first case. We will go ahead and grab this. Here's our comparator. And we will assert that or expect the comparator has, or comparator.errors to equal empty string. And here, so we're going to do this again, except we're going to expect an error in a group. And so I need to build up a comparator that has a group budget. Here's some group budgets. Steal these. Yep. Budget. Oh, we're going to need a budget for, we're going to need a test for all too. Let's start with that one. Test when there is an all budget error. I should do this. And that's going to go right after there. Okay, so in that case, I would, instead of an empty array, expect comparator errors to equal, let's say to include. And we're going to want that failure, that budget itself, or that budget failure itself. So what does that actually look like? Let's find what failing budgets are. It's an array of a budget result. So budget result looks like what? We're going to have to go look that up in types, I think. Types. Yeah, here we go. Budget. No, this is not. There's budget results. So we've got a bunch of different stuff here. That's going to have an object that has size key, and we're using gzip, it looks like, right above us. And we're essentially copying some of this. So passing false expected. Looks like what? And we have an actual. I don't know what the actual is. Is it 4? We'll find out in a minute. Type is budget type size, and level is budget level warn. So I'm actually gonna start running these tests. Pull it over here. Do that, and oh, it's command tabbed again. Don't let me do it. And we'll just start running this test and watching it so we can kind of see how we're doing. So yarn test watch this one. Oh, I'm in the wrong repo. Watch, there we go. Okay, starting up there. Okay, so we're care about this one. Oh, to include is not a function. We'll say to equal spec dot array containing. That's what I wanted. That'll rerun. It also had it says here, say, to have length 0. So OBS crashed again. Here's what it looks like. Anyone was ever curious what OBS looks like? It's weird. Not sure what's happening, why it's crashing, because that time I didn't do anything. It just crashed on its own. I was just running tests. Little old me running a test. What? Seriously, OBS? Now I'm in the dark. Nope. Please just stay running. I'm just gonna like not touch it this time at all. It's just gonna sit over there and do nothing. What happens if I turn this off? I can do that for a while, see if that's causing some issues. That one's a little heavy piece of the frame here. So you're just gonna get empty bar down at the bottom. And we'll hope it doesn't crash this time. So my issue once again was I needed to have that in an array. Screwing up while running code. That's my jam. Speaking of jams, I'm going to turn some on. Ain't nobody talking to me. Where are you all at? What are you doing? Just kidding. I know you got lives. Do your thing. Stay home. You're probably all playing Animal Crossing. I bet that's what's happening. So it's crashing, it's crashing, it's crashing. It seems to crash a lot when I'm running tests. Maybe